Hi, I'm making this video just to show you a few useful things you might want to use in PowerPoint. It's a template, so you can download it from parkermaths.com/pp template 2021. I've seen a lot of people talking about OneNote recently and all the amazing things you can do doing it. And while it is a good program, I think certain things in PowerPoint for me make PowerPoint my choice when I want to kind of explain anything or present anything. So I'm going to go through a few of the kind of little things that I use in PowerPoint. I'll go through them all first, and then after that I'm going to explain how some of them are achieved. So if you see anything in the first minute or two that you like, later on in the video I can show you how you can get that. Okay, so first of all, just talking about things you can see around the right side, around the outside, I like to have the slide number in the top corner. That will update automatically depending on what slide I'm on. I like to have a button here that takes me back to the first slide. I'll talk in a minute about why that's useful. I've got buttons here which take me on to the next slide or the previous slide, and this one here is to allow me to insert new pages whenever I want, just on the fly. Okay, so normally I would start my PowerPoints with a contents page like this with links to all the different areas. These are really quick and easy to create, and it means that if you've got a PowerPoint that spans several lessons all in one file, you can very quickly get to different parts of the lesson or different lessons just by clicking on these links, rather than having to kind of scroll through and find where you got to before. Okay, so I just click on these and it will take me to the right bit. That's why the home button is also useful, because if I want to go to a different section in the PowerPoint, I can click the home button, and then this slide would not normally be here. This would take me straight back to the contents page, which would be the first page, and then I can navigate somewhere else. Okay, next up, I'm just going to talk about how I organize my example problem pairs. So I've got an example over here on the left. The problem is covered up at the moment because I don't want that to distract people. I've got a set of axes drawn here, which might give you a clue. I'm going to draw a graph. And in this problem, I would probably first of all draw a triangle. Now, I don't particularly like the colors that PowerPoint uses for its pens. I think they're a bit harsh. So what I like to do is have my own little pen colors up here for slides that I'm going to write on sometimes. And I can quickly maybe select a nice little green here, and then I can write on this PowerPoint as I see fit. I've also got a little graph animation in here, so I can make this graph appear from left to right just to kind of make it a bit clearer what's going on than just appearing. And also sometimes when I'm writing on examples, if I want to write a lot of stuff, I prefer, rather than having a plain sheet, to have a grid. And I can very quickly set that up in my PowerPoint because I have layouts set up here with a grid, and I'll show you how to do this later. Okay, and then here is my grid, and then I can nicely line things up if I want to be writing on them. So I've got cos alpha equals 4/5. Okay, then to make the second problem appear, all I've got to do is click on this here and it animates that away. Second problem appears. This little thing here is probably my favorite thing in the whole PowerPoint. This is a very simple toggle on and off for something that you want to appear. So for example, in this here, if I've modeled this example, I might not want to spend lots of time in lesson modeling the second example. I might just want a quick check whether the answer is correct. Click on this, answer appears, click on it again, answer disappears. Okay, particularly useful if students are working through this on their own device, because they can, or if they're sharing it. I often have my students, one between two in lessons, sharing devices. First person can check their answer, then they can make it go away again so that the next person doesn't automatically see it on the screen and get distracted by it, so people can check answers independently of each other. One of the uses for these, you might think, well, why not just scroll left and right through a PowerPoint? Well, if you use the left and right arrows, all that does is bang it on one animation. And if you're trying to get through several, like 3 slides forward, it's easier just to click on one button than it is just to click on that. Also, if this is a touchscreen device somebody's using, it's kind of faffy to get between slides by like stroking the screen essentially. It's much easier to just tap on a button. And that's why these are reasonably large, because I use them for people to press on a relatively small screen. Okay, this slide is just to kind of talk about layout and grids. I mean, I'll talk about the grid a bit later on how you set up grids, but the idea is here, I don't like these, when I have text on it, to be too wide on the lines, because it makes it very difficult for people to read. So I have a grid set up nicely so that everything lines up, and I'll talk through some hints and tips on that later. Okay, something else I like to use when I've got a lot of, like, say, quickfire questions on the board, something like this, or a student, in usually one of my lessons, students would have access to this one between two. I can make these little boxes here which cover things up, and I can just click on them and they can disappear. So if I click on these, you can see each answer. Also got a little timer set up here. So suppose I want to give students 5 minutes to do a task. I can click that. Timer starts counting down. Okay, they could work through that. Some students are going to work through it faster than others. So maybe on the next slide, I've got another one here, another question. Notice how I've got another timer on this slide, but the timers are linked to each other. They carry on. So this is for, look, if we carry on here, that timer keeps running. Okay, so you can have a timer on more than one slide that keeps going, that's in the PowerPoint as well. So you don't have to go to a separate program in order to have that timer ready. It's just there in PowerPoint. Really easy to use. You can change the time when it's turned off. You can add minutes on or whatever when it isn't turned off. It's generally, so far I've managed to use it fairly reliably. Okay, you do. The easiest way to use this timer is just by using this template, but you can copy and paste it into another one with a couple of steps. Okay, next kind of nice little touch that I like to use is this one in the top left corner here. If you're doing something that spans several slides in a PowerPoint and you want students to realise that this activity goes over 3 slides, I like to put a little thing up here in the top. This tells them they're on slide 1 of 3, and then as they go to the next slide, they're on slide 2 of 3. Okay, a few more little buttons here are used for them. Maybe for this example, I want them to check their diagram before they go on and do the force equation. Well, they can do that nice and easily here. Okay, and then they can check their equation separately so they don't see everything at once. The text you can see here, these equations are not written using the word equation editor. They're written using something called MathType. And in my opinion, it's one of the best pieces of software as a maths department you can buy in that will help you improve the quality of your resources and your assessments. Okay, you can very quickly type an equation like this with nice equal signs that line up, with lots of different symbols in there, and different fonts as well. Equation editor limits you to a single font. Okay, these equations, once you get familiar with MathType, you can type these in no time whatsoever. Okay, slide 3 of this was another bit of this question. Quite a tricky one where the pulley goes up a little bit more after this one's hit the ground. Maybe I want to explain this in a little bit more detail. One of the limitations in PowerPoint, I can't extend the screen downwards, which is a shame. Hopefully one day they'll implement that. Okay, one thing that OneNote is definitely better at. What I can do though with this little vertical ellipse here is if I click that, I can on the fly, without going out of my PowerPoint presenter mode, insert a new slide. I can click that, boom, new slide. I can write on here, do what I want. Okay, and that slide is now part of my PowerPoint. Look, go back, it's still there when I go forward. Okay, it's not as good as just being able to kind of have the bottom of the last question on the screen, but because you've got these buttons here, it's very easy to just flick through. Maybe I need to copy a number down from that slide, and I can very quickly just copy things down from one slide to the other. Okay, these ones automatically have your pen tools at the top as well so that you can choose your colour. Okay. Next thing then, I've got some little hint buttons here. These work the same as the toggle in the answer buttons really. But what you'll find in the Slide Master as well is a few other little template things you can use. I've got a semi-transparent box here all over the place and some little kind of markers where, for example, maybe I'm in lesson and I say, right, I want students to have a go at this question on their own to start off with. So have a go, crack on, see how far you get. Maybe they can do it without that. But then rather than me having to help them individually, I can say, right, if you're really stuck and you've had a go, use the hint, reveal some steps here, points out some keywords for them, gives them some steps. Maybe you might want to make these appear in a different, maybe you just want the highlighting first and then the steps later. You can do it however you want. And I can make a second one appear and I can make those disappear as well, like that. Just nice little touches that can kind of help students use these PowerPoints, particularly if they've got their own device. Okay, also in the Slide Master, you'll notice that there are a fair few templates that you can use as well. So for example, tables nicely set up with colour schemes that match that you can copy and paste. Little headings like this I like to use so that when they see this, students know that they've got an activity to do, not necessarily a textbook one. Okay, just little touches like that you can very easily include in your PowerPoint without actually increasing the amount of work that you need to do, because everything is all just nicely set up. Okay, so that's a few things that I've been through. If you found any of those interesting, I'm going to go through those things for the rest of the PowerPoint. What I'll do as well, in the timeline bar at the bottom of this video, you should see that kind of there's links to different sections. So if there's something in particular that you're interested in finding out how to do, feel free to click on that and kind of navigate your way through to it. Okay, so first of all, I'll start off with something very quick. If you don't know how to hyperlink to something, all you do is if you've got some text on your screen, I'll just insert a new text box, a link. Okay, highlight that text, right click on it, and then go link here. Okay, most of the links I create aren't to existing files or web place. It's a place in this document. And then here's all my slides. I can just choose a slide like that. Okay, and then when I'm in, you can either, if you want to, you can control and click on it when you're not in presenter view. I can just click on that and it takes me to the relevant slide. Okay, next up, I'd like to talk about the grids that I use, not the grid layout. I'll put that back to plain. When I'm designing things like this, it makes it so much easier on the eye if things line up nicely. So it's not so relevant for this particular question as such. Let's maybe pick this one is a nice one to show. I like to have grid lines at certain places so that I can line up text with the grid and kind of make it so that it's, you know, easy on the eye. The way my grid is set up here is that I have kind of I cut off a little bit of the page because I don't really like things to be too close to the edge. And then these lines here divide the page into 1/6. I usually use them as 1/3 more than anything. Okay, if I, for example, have some text in the middle here on widescreen, I like to have it within the middle 2/3 of the screen so that it doesn't stretch the eyes too much. I have a nice line down the middle as well so that I can line up example problem pairs when there's two things here like this. I can say where's the middle and I know where kind of things will fit. It just having these guidelines can make things easier. If they're bugging you at any particular point, if you go to view, you can turn them off like that. Very simple. If you don't want to see them there. Next thing I'll talk about, I'll just hide this and show you how to get to these things in the menu. When you're working with things like this that kind of cover things up, one of the most useful things in PowerPoint is on the home menu here to go select and selection pane. This will tell you every little thing that's on this page that's not in the slide master in the background. Okay, so for example, if I click on this, I can then press that and make it disappear. Maybe I want to edit the answers to this because it's wrong, and then I can make it disappear like this. I can also change the order of things as well. So if something's in the background I don't want it to, for example, I can just drag these and move them around like that. It's not in the background anymore, so maybe I wanted it right at the front, and I can do that. Okay, right, I'll show you how you can create nice little animations next on using Desmos graphs like this. So let me insert a new slide here, and I'm going to load up Desmos. Okay, I've done some exporting before then. Okay, so suppose I've got a couple of graphs here, these two graphs, and I want to do the intersection between these 2 points. First of all, I just want a picture that is just the grid background if I want a grid. Okay, I'm going to export that image there. It's going to go there like that. Okay, I've exported a few recently for other PowerPoints. Then I'm going to make the X squared graph appear, and I'm going to export that. And then I'm going to make the second graph appear, and I'm going to export that image as well. Okay, next up, you could, because these are on the download bar at the bottom, I'm just going to drag them in, but you could go to any folder and just drag them in, or insert picture the same way. So I want 7 first, we'll pop that one in there. Then I want 8. And then I want 9. Okay, then just make sure I can see all these. I'm going to select them all at once, and I'm going to shrink them all a bit at the same time like that. If you kind of want to make sure that they're all the same size, just make sure the height and width up here is the same for all of them if you make a mess of it, and you can kind of get back to where you need to be. Okay, now the background grid, I want that to just be there anyway. The first graph I then want to appear, so I'm going to go to animations here. Okay, make the animation pane appear. And I'm going to use a wipe animation. Wipe's one of my favorites on here. If I do a wipe from the left, okay, that will make that graph appear from the left, and we'll see what happens in a second with that. I'm just going to make it 2 seconds long. Seems to be a nice one for graphs. And then I'm going to take the second graph as well. I'm going to put wipe, and then from the left. Okay, and here are my animations here, picture 5 and picture 7. Not very well named because I haven't really got time to faff about with that. Okay, I'll make that one 2 seconds as well. Okay, then I'm just going to line up all these pictures. So I'm going to select them all. I'm going to go. By the way, to select them all, I just held shift down and I clicked on all of them there. And I'm going to go picture format, align left, align top to make them all line up like that. And now watch what happens when I animate this. Okay, the grid's there to start off with. Then the next graph appears. And then the next graph appears like that. And I might have like other like arrows and kind of text boxes and things going off around there to kind of explain things at the same time. But it just makes it really quick and easy to animate a graph. You can do it in a couple of minutes using Desmos and get something that looks, maybe not super professional, but a lot better than it might otherwise look. Okay, next up we'll just have a look at how we would create this show hide thing here. So let's go on to this slide here. Maybe I want to cover this up to start with. We should talk to you about the slide master now. When I click layout here, you can see all the different kind of setups that I can have. So maybe I don't want this question to be red. I just click here, click red grid, and I've got a red grid. Maybe I don't want a grid, maybe I want red plane there. Lots of different templates in there that you can use like that. And so let's go into view, and then I'm going to go slide master. Now down the left now is not my slide, these are my template slides, okay? I've got green, red, black, and a blue one there, and then I've got the same thing with grids on, okay? And on here I've got some kind of bold backgrounds there. Underneath the kind of ones I'd use as templates, I've got like all the little bits and bobs that I use in my PowerPoint stored on one of these template slides, okay? The main use of these is I come into this slide and I copy and paste something that I want to use. Okay, so maybe, for example, I want the show and hide thing in here. I'm just going to click that. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to paste it. And this is set up nicely. This will just work straight away. Click it, it disappears. Okay, that would even work if you copy and paste it into a new PowerPoint. You can just steal that and it'd work fine straight away. Okay, let's talk about these boxes here. These boxes are super simple to set up as well. Let's suppose I didn't have those ones there, and maybe I didn't have this timer on as well. If you're using this template, it's really quick to set this stuff up. You go view, slide master, I go down here. Oh look, there's a little ticky box. Let's get one of them. You could adjust the size of this however you want. You can make it longer, smaller, whatever. Pop that there. Control, let's do a copy and paste. Put that one there like that. Okay, then I've just got some boxes, they just work. Okay, again, this one here actually will just work if you copied it into your PowerPoint as well. I've also got to pop a timer on there, so let's go on here. Scroll down, I've got all my timers stored here. Maybe this one, copy that, paste it in here. And there we go, I've got a timer on there. I can also edit this here. If I want to make that 5 minutes, I can just type 5 minutes in here like that. Okay, and then I've got boxes that work, and I've got a timer that works as well. Okay, as for using the timer, if you wanted to copy and paste that into your PowerPoint, it is available for you to do that. If you go to PARKERMATHS.com and then go into the teaching resources, you can see one of the options. There's a page on this timer. You do need to copy a little bit of macro code over to do that. So if you want to put that into your own template, it's maybe 5-10 minutes setting it up the first time, and then you can use it however you want. Okay, I'll show you how to do these little things next here, the 1, 2, 3 buttons on there. Okay, maybe I'll delete those, we'll recreate them. Maybe we'll make them a different color as well. View, slide master. Okay, scroll down. Where are they? They're on this one here. Maybe I want to go 4 for this one. And I'm also going to select the green one because I want to make it green. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in here. And for the first one, this is one of my favorite shortcuts in PowerPoint. Instead of Control-C and Control-V, if you use Control-Shift-C and Control-Shift-V, you can copy the format of something. So if I click this and press Control-Shift-C, I can then click this one and press Control-Shift-V, okay, and then delete that. And I've got a lovely little button set up with the same format, Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. Then, if I've got 4 slides, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to copy and paste it onto all of my slides. Oh, let's delete that all the time, that one's first. The nice thing is, when you copy and paste things onto new slides like this, it lines it up perfectly in PowerPoint. Okay, then, again, I'm going to go Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. Okay, make this, the second one that, and then take this one, Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. Look at that. Moved on to the next one. Okay, then here, Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. Choose one of the white ones, Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. There you go. Nice little kind of joining page things you can pop in there with no time whatsoever. Okay, next up, I should have shown you this before actually. Let's say I maybe want to make one of these toggles like on the example problem pair here. Maybe I want to make one of these that does that. These are really simple to set up. You can even copy and paste this into your own PowerPoints that you've already created. It doesn't need any fancy coding or anything. So let me just delete the show. In fact, let's hide it because we don't need to delete it. We know better than that. Back to my selection pane. Let's get rid of that. Right, let's imagine that's not even there. Okay, so we're going to use the animation pane for this, which you can go animations and then animation pane. Okay, let's get rid of all these because it might be confusing when I've already got one set up. First thing I'm going to do, I need one of those things. Now these buttons here is secretly 2 buttons. If you look, 2 buttons, there's one forward and one back. Drag a box around it, copy it. Okay, you paste it into your own PowerPoint if you want, doesn't matter. Nothing special about what PowerPoint it's in. Put both of them in the right place, make sure they're on top of each other like that. If you make a mess of it, doesn't matter too much. Select them both and then go align left, align top or bottom. Gets them back into place. Then drag a box around everything that you want to appear and disappear, excluding this. I don't want that in there. Okay, and on the animation pane, choose appear. Lots of this stuff comes up here. Okay, this is using something called triggers. Okay, a trigger is something you click on and then something happens. I'm going to take all of these animations, I'm going to drag them in between show answer and hide answer. Okay, and then where it says 2 here, I don't want to have to click the mouse twice to make that happen. So it doesn't matter whether any of these are selected or not, just right click on that first one and choose start with previous. So it just says one thing there like that. Okay, then select everything all over again. Go add animation. Don't just click on one of these, that will just change your first animation. Add animation, disappear, and drag those down into the second box there. Okay, same thing again, change this 2 to a 1. Okay, and that's it. I've now got an animation which I can make appear and disappear at will. Okay, if you were to copy and paste this and make another one, that just appears at the bottom. You can do the same thing with more stuff. Maybe I want these graphs to appear separately. I could make these appear. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but then just drag these right down at the bottom into that one. In fact, why not? Let's do the whole thing. So you take 2 seconds. Drag these down here. And there. Don't forget to change your 2s to with previous. Okay, and as quick as that, I can make things appear and disappear on my page. Okay, it might look complicated the first time you do it because you've not done it before, but once you've done a few of these, you can do them in your sleep. Okay, you can just copy and paste it. You know, it takes you about 20 seconds a slide to make one of these toggle buttons. Okay, and they're set up forever after that. Okay, see if I've missed anything. Right, these toggle buttons here work exactly the same. What I've done here, I'll show you where I got these boxes for. They're all in the template, I believe. Yeah, these boxes. I just copied and pasted a load of these ones over, and these as well. Okay, put them wherever I wanted them, and then all I did, I selected them all at the. Let's just ungroup this so I can show you how I did it. Okay, what I did, I just selected all of these things at the same time, as many as you want. Okay, maybe it's a little bit less of a faff if you don't select these ones. You could copy and paste it without that. Okay, and then I did the same trigger thing that I did before on this one over here. Okay, nice and simple to set up, just like the toggle button before. Okay, last thing I'm going to go over are some of the template pages here. Let's just add a new slide in. Maybe I'll show you how I create this textbook exercise really quickly. Okay, I've got one exercise here. I can type in whatever I want. Bob's exercise. Okay, maybe it's projectiles. Okay, then I go view, slide master, right down to the bottom. I've got a couple of layouts here. Okay, I've got a little table I can use here. Copy and paste that over. So to put that questions, that one as parts, and there we go. I've got a little table in here that I can put my questions into without having to mess about formatting everything like that. Okay, one thing I haven't shown you, how to set up this here if you want that in your PowerPoint. You'll have to put, it just works if you use this template. If you don't want to, 2 things you'd need to do. First of all, if you go view slide master, okay, drag a box around all of that, copy and paste that into your document. Okay, this is the fancy bit. It might seem a bit scary at first if you've never been in like in the code part of PowerPoint before. If you press Alt F11, there's only my PowerPoint here. If this modules bit's closed, just click that and open it up and go into module 1. Then press Ctrl A, select all this code, copy it, go to your PowerPoint, do the same thing and paste it in to a module. Okay, and it should work. But my advice would be, if you're not too confident with this, just use this template as your template, save it as whatever you want, set it up however it is best for you, and then just use it as it is. One last thing to talk about though, this is saved as PPTM. This stands for a macro enabled PowerPoint. Okay, that's necessary for some of the things to work. The animations and things like that work fine without macros. The main things that don't work without macros are this adding in an extra slide. That requires a little bit of code here, and then the little pen color things. Okay, here, if you're not bothered about those, then you don't need any of the macro code in there. But you know, if you're using this template, it's already saved as a macro. Now, I realize I've been through lots of this stuff really quickly. If people are finding this useful, then I'm quite happy to make it into a little mini course where I break things down into a little bit more simpler steps and kind of go through things a bit more slowly. But I didn't want to kind of faff about doing that if only like 3 people get any use out of this, because it'd be a bit of a waste of my time. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, and I hope you found it useful.